That was Local Gypsy. That's my fault because I do all of this. But Local Gypsy, while you're here, why don't you give us a follow on Twitch? And YouTube is now on. And why, Local Gypsy, while I got you here, why YouTube over Twitch? My guess is your big television at home. Who do we got here?
Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly talking hockey. Got fair enough. That's why I wanted to know. Thank you. I wonder how long before Twitch is going to be an app on TVs.
It is an app on TVs.
Where?
There's Twitch apps on TVs, smart TVs, Apple TV.
Apple TV, yes. Smart TVs, top, because I've not seen it on
No, there's
because I'm literally like this person in here that I'm talking to. Okay, is watching on YouTube because on Comcast, for instance, if you have Comcast, you can go right to YouTube.
Right. Okay, I gotta make a phone call.
Yeah, why don't you do your job?
Yes.
Do your job. We're starting early.
No, it's 8. I'm doing pretty good.
I know I meant early in the week, but yes.
And that is the one nice thing that we have about this StreamYard is that I can see all of your text, whether it's Facebook, Twitter.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the third hour of Miller and Moulton. Final hour for those of you in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway home for those of you in the 239. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Dave Wannstedt to talk a little NFL coming up in about 35 minutes' time. It's a pleasure to catch back up with Mike Kelly. He covers the NHL, part of the NHL Network. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Kelly NHL. Mike, it's David and Mark. How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm doing great. Hopefully we get a lot of action today.
Well, we've already had a lot of action. That's why we called you. And needless to say, in these parts, with both the Panthers and Lightning making significant deals, let's start with the Lightning. First off, did you even think they needed to make deals? But they went out and got Hagel from the Blackhawks, a young forward, and then they went out and got another forward, Nick Paul from Ottawa. Is this the Lightning's way of saying, yeah, we need to put a third line together because we lost it all in free agency last year?
Yeah, well, look, they're a great team already. But Julien Brisebois has always been aggressive to go out and try to find the team that he believes gives him the best chance to compete for a Stanley Cup. And, you know, he raised some eyebrows with some people. If you go back a couple of years when he gave up first-round picks for guys like Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, really effective players, and we ended up seeing why they were so valuable. So I like the moves. They're certainly a heavier team now. They're a tougher team to play against. We know what that third line in Tampa's 2 Stanley Cup wins recently meant to that team, how important they were to that team. And, you know, you effectively lost the entire line. And so they go out and get Brandon Hagel, who's a bit of a pain to play against type player, speedy, is scoring at a crazy rate this year. I don't expect that to keep up the way that it has. His shooting percentage was over 20%. But he's still so effective in other areas of the game. It doesn't matter if he's scoring a ton of goals. And then they go out and get Nick Paul as well, who's a 6'3", 220-pound, good around the net type guy. Really good forechecker as well. He can go in and bang his body and dig pucks out. So they're just a better, more playoff built team now with those additions.
Well, and that's what seemingly the Panthers did. And man, is that division going to be fun to watch in the postseason. But the Panthers, last year, the Lightning take them out. It looks as if they wanted leadership. They wanted some veterans that can help this team become a better playoff team. How much of a better playoff team are they now?
Yeah, they're significantly better. You get all those things with Claude Giroux. Ben Sherratt went through the battles last year going to the Stanley Cup final with Montreal. And Claude Giroux, not only is he a veteran and a leader and the longest tenured captain in Flyers history and all those good things, he's still a great player. He's an elite playmaker still with his passing ability. He is one of the best in the league in the faceoff circle, which, certain draws in certain games, you guys know this, are critical in the playoffs. And you've already got Barkov, but having a guy in Claude Giroux who's second in the league in defensive zone faceoff win percentage, top 5 overall, is a great addition. And that playoff series last year, and I know it was first round and Florida was out. They didn't win a series, whatever. No shame losing to the Cup champions, but it was heavy. In addition to all the skill that these teams have, it was heavy. So if they meet up again, I think it'd probably be maybe a second round matchup. But wow, I would love to see those two teams in another playoff series.
Well, and one of them's likely going to have to go through Toronto in the first round, and the Leafs were active as well. They got Mark Giordano and center Colin Blackwell, and they only gave up draft picks to do it, and they didn't have to give up a first rounder either. I mean, listen, I don't have confidence in the Leafs goaltending, Mike, and I still think they're going to go out in the first round because they're not going to be able to beat either Florida team, but I think their general manager did a great job this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still hear people talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs having issues defensively in terms of their defensemen. Every team can get better defensively. They're not perfect by any means, but I think this narrative still hangs around about this team, which was true a few years ago, but hasn't been true in the last couple of years, which is that, they give up all these chances and they're just an offensive team and they trade too many chances. They're a very good defensive team in terms of what they allow. They're top 10 in the league in expected goals against, which is a reflection of the shot quantity they give up. They were top 10 last year. They're an above average team in terms of team defense, but you're totally right. Their goaltending has been a huge problem since the 1st of January. So in the absence of there being a market to go out and acquire a real top-end goalie who can help you with the way things have gone, they went out and get Mark Giordano, who's one of the better defensemen in the league at shutting down plays, killing plays, getting the puck out, making a good first pass. But when you think about that gauntlet in the Atlantic Division of Florida, Bobrovsky, Tampa Bay, Vasilevsky, Boston very well might take that third spot and bump Toronto into a wild card spot. Swayman's played well this year. You got to just hope for Toronto that Jack Campbell, when he comes back, he's the all-star that he was in the first few months of the season, not the guy he was in the last couple months that he played.
Well, and that's what, as you brought that up, that's what's so interesting to me. Here's Boston, who was, fighting with Detroit a month ago for the last playoff spot, and all of a sudden put everybody in the East in their rearview mirror. The East playoffs are completely locked now, and they're not all done. How good is this Boston team, and how much could they upset the Florida, Toronto, Tampa thing and really be a team that can do some damage in the postseason?
Yeah, no, they're good. They've got back to playing a really strong team defense. They found balance in their lineup over the last few months when, it all started when Coach Cassidy, I think, put Pasternak down on the second line, try to balance the scoring out a little bit. He found really good chemistry, Pasternak, with Taylor Hall. They've had a third line that's been going really well. Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick have been playing well, Craig Smith. So now they've found balance in their scoring, which has always been a bit of an issue with them that they've overcome just by having that perfection line and the power play be so dominant and being good defensively. But, I look just from January 1st on, try to get a measure of the last 2.5 months or so, what's going on. Boston, in terms, again, of shot quality, quantity against what team defense makes their goaltender face, they're number one in the NHL in expected goals against. Calgary's number 2. So if Boston can play that shutdown type of game and also get things going enough offensively, yeah, I absolutely think they might find themselves in that third spot in the Atlantic. And, again, from there, you're probably playing Tampa or Florida, and I wouldn't put them, the Bruins as a favorite, but not an easy out.
Until somebody beats Vasilevsky 4 times in 2 weeks, it really is hard to pick against the Lightning. Mike, who's the team that you feel their GM's got less than 7 hours here? They absolutely have to make a deal. Is it Toronto's got to figure out a way to get Marc-Andre Fleury? Don't know if it can be done. Is it Colorado who needs to? Can they really rely on, Darcy Kepner there? Can, the Rangers look good? They just beat Tampa and Carolina back-to-back on the road, but they can't score 5-on-5 at all. I mean, who is the team that you think has to make a big deal today?
Okay, so if I'm the Rangers, I would be acknowledging the fact that we are not a cup contender. I know that they've got a 675 points percentage. They're second in the Metropolitan Division. Igor Shesterkin is way too much of that for me to be comfortable. So I wouldn't be giving up much in the way of future assets, guys that I think could help us in the next couple of years for that reason. The team that I think needs to make a move, Colorado's a good candidate for that. Mainly they're kind of bottom 6 scoring. The top 6 does so much of the damage for them that I'd be trying to find a way to get someone who can play third line, who's got a little bit of offensive punch to their game to try to balance that scoring out a little bit more.
He's Mike Kelly. You can see his work on the NHL Network, and you can also find Mike on Twitter as well, Mike Kelly NHL. Mike, David and Mark here. We thank you for your time. Hopefully we can do this again.
Anytime, guys. Enjoy the day.
Mike Kelly, NHL Network analyst. He's a big analytics guy. And as we mentioned, Mike Kelly NHL is how you can follow him. I know for those of you, football, madness, the whole deal. Hey, A, we're both hockey guys. B, trade deadline's 3:00 this afternoon. We're both suckers, me more so than most.
Well, and we're on in the
deadline.
Tampa market, and they're the best team in the damn league.
Right. And they made 2 deals over the weekend. And now they've put a third line back together again. And as he said, they've gotten heavy again with that third line.
They've got the best goaltender in the game.
Yes,
they added a third line. And when they play Florida in the second round, I will be looking for press credentials for the first time for hockey in a long, long time, because that series is going to be a bloodbath, David.
Listen, the whole East in the NHL, for those, if you're a casual fan and you don't know, the East in the NHL is like the AFC in the NFL this year. It is absolutely loaded. There are 8 really good teams.
Yes.
And no more than 8.
No, in the playoff set, there's no chance for anybody else to make it.
It's just a matter of who is going to play who. You got Carolina, Pittsburgh, the Rangers, and Washington in their division. They all got to go through each other. And then you've got Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Boston. There's a chance that the wild card each could switch over and play the other team's first place team. But basically, you've got 8 really good teams. They're all going to play each other. And I'm not sold on Florida's goaltending. All right. It's very streaky. Both their goalies, Bobrovsky and Knight, are streaky. Not sold on their goaltending. That's why I keep coming back to Tampa.
Well, it's impossible not to. Again, best goaltender, defending cup champs. There's a lot there, David.
And while Shesterkin might be playing a little bit better than him this year, he hasn't done squat in the playoffs. I don't even know if he's played in the playoffs.
And I love Fuller 5-on-5, but power plays will come into effect, and the Tampa power play is lethal.
Some good hockey over the weekend, though. And we're getting there. We're getting there. Playoffs will be underway in less than a month. Trade deadline in less than 7 hours. So,
speaking of trades, Deshaun Watson is now a Cleveland Brown. And we ask you, if your team acquired Deshaun Watson, would you still be rooting for them? Now we're at about 2/3, 1/3. We started out 75-25. And now, yeah, it's my team, 62%. No, he's a bad dude at 38%. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter, or simply FloridaSportsNetwork.com to cast your vote on today's poll question.
We'll tell you about another trade that was just made on the other side. Dave Wannstedt in 25 minutes, Miller and Moulton.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I would lay the 15.5. Wouldn't feel great about it, but yes. What's a nice small group? Twitch, YouTube, what?
Twitch.
Someone in the Twitch chat was saying that the Twitch interface is nicer, and I agree.
I saw that. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
But okay, but Mark, so you can get a Twitch, like the Twitch app, on most smart TVs now.
Well, okay. Literally what most people are saying, on their LG, they can't.
Yeah, on the Roku. Right.
Vizio doesn't have it. The LG didn't have it. The Roku doesn't have it. So it's not as readily available as YouTube is on all of these sites.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, is that people can, with the push of a button on Comcast. That's why YouTube's a big deal. Because there are people like my buddy Johnny Max, like, I don't do Twitch because I can hit 2 buttons and have you up on YouTube.
Yeah, the other day we were talking to someone. He said YouTube.
Yeah, but we don't make any money on YouTube.
Well, if we get to 500 subscribers, we do.
How many subscribers do we have?
240.
Really? Huh.
YouTube, it's more accessible.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of the name of the game, isn't it?
That is true.
And you got to remember, I don't even know what I'm talking about, and I can figure that out. Spring cleaning growing up. Well, I lived in apartments, so
Of course. I'm an only child. My mother made me do all that crap. Take all the screens off the windows and wash them. My least favorite. My absolute least. Today's the first day of spring.
Which is a whole lot different than the last day of winter around these parts.
Oh, spring starts today?
21st.
Let's go.
Let's go.
LFG.
My mom's listening right now. I don't remember being forced to. First off, my mom did not clean. Okay. She used to joke about, I dust once a year. We have dust elephants in the house. So.
Yeah, my mom would.
Yeah, they kind of ended that, didn't they, Adam? I mean, there was a time you could make money on YouTube, and you really can't anymore. Is that a fair statement?
I know a lot of content creators on YouTube have their fair amount of differences with YouTube nowadays.
Yeah, I'm guessing they don't win those differences.
No, not particularly.
No, you can't mess up the studio. It's not ours.
I will say to anyone who is thinking about changing their cable, like their way of watching TV from cable to streaming, as in YouTube TV or Amazon, all this stuff, I would recommend buying an Apple TV. I think that's the best external device you can plug into your TV.
I think Seth
Probably.
said something about that.
It's also the most expensive, right?
It's $150,
Well,
yeah, but it's worth it. If you have Apple Music, you can connect to your Apple Music, iTunes, your movies that you have.
Mhm.
It's good.
Mom's listening.
I don't mean to speak for Apple here, but
What do we got here? Yeah, my mom said, yeah, I still don't clean. Good. I love you, Mom.
Mama Moulton.
That was not our thing. It was not our thing. We didn't clean the windows, didn't clean cars. No, didn't have the money to. Just relied on the rain.
Wait a minute. You didn't have the money to clean cars? That whole bucket, sponge, soap, and a hose? I mean, even at apartments, there was access to a hose.
Ooh.
Not, believe it or not where we were located.
30
on the
seconds.
corner. The hose was actually there. We didn't have we didn't. I'm not kidding. We didn't. Where we were, it was not close enough to the hose. The hose was more in the middle of our complex there.
Those bastards in the middle had all the advantages.
No. Actually, we much preferred being on the end. It was great. The only bad thing about it was sometimes you got plowed in by the plow, and that's why we always bribed the plow guy.
Coming back.
As soon as the plow came.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Dave Wannstedt in a little more than 15 minutes time to talk about, everything that's going on in the NFL. Here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us, the Florida Sports Network. So I don't know if it's a big deal, but it's a noteworthy deal that officially went down this morning. Well, maybe it was announced this morning. It might have happened over the weekend. But remember how the story was middle of last week that Fox just let Joe Buck out of his contract?
Right.
28 years. Thanks for, being a good dude. And
we like you. You like us. We're just
right.
going to let you.
We were one big happy family, but now, you can go work for the 4-letter network. And turns out that Fox said, upon further review, we don't want to set the precedent that our talent could just leave. We need a little something back. I do want to emphasize little. Much like when Al Michaels was traded from ABC to
Right.
NBC, and it was Disney who'd said, hey, can we have the rights to this cartoon character?
That you guys have had for 50, 60 years that you don't use.
Right, and you shouldn't have had.
Right.
We screwed up 40 years ago. Can we have this cartoon character back?
And they gave it back.
Right, Al was traded for a cartoon character. Well, Joe Buck was traded for a football game.
And a bad football game at that. No offense to any of you fans of these Big Ten schools, but really? You couldn't do better than that, Fox?
So the price for Joe Buck was $14-15 million a year for 5 years and a Penn State Purdue game.
That's what they withered away from ESPN, huh?
September 1st, Thursday night,
Okay.
first night of the college football season.
See, now it's a little better. Now it's a little better than I thought. If
And-
that was a mid-October Purdue Penn State game, then
Right.
but now you're talking.
I believe it's Penn State at Purdue. And so that's the price for Joe Buck. Now, he doesn't wear this on his sleeve very often, and I don't know if he would find it as interesting as I do, but I do find it interesting that he was traded for a Purdue game since he's an IU guy.
I just want to know if he's going to knock down a Boilermaker at any point today.
It's always possible. Probably did late last week,
You know what?
Once
For
he-
$15 million a year, you might as well.
right? At all hours of the day.
Absolutely.
Never mind the young twins. That'll be reason enough to knock one down as well. So there it
Nanny's
is.
26 and 27 just got hired.
So the price was a steep one. And just for what and giggles here, ESPN and Fox split 54 football games evenly, 27 and 27. Fox just gets first choice. So they pick games 1, 3, 5. ESPN picks games 2, 4, 6. And that's how it goes. So this particular year, it'll be 28 for Fox and 26 for ESPN, which I believe is the last year of the TV deal. The rights are up for bidding right now. It will likely be split between two networks at least again. Fox is expected to be one of them, considering they own half of the Big Ten network. And they are very Big Ten centric in their announcers and everything else. And so it would be a shock if the main network for the Big Ten, once again, was not Fox.
But the secondary network could be someone else.
Anybody else. And everybody wants it.
Even NBC?
Yes. Even NBC.
It is going to be interesting. NBC obviously getting rid of the NBC Sports Network a while ago now. Seems like it didn't even exist. It's so long ago.
It was December 31st.
I know. But when the tournament's going on, and maybe this is a little too inside broadcast for some of you, but I don't know about you, David, as much as we make fun of True TV, once I figure out where everything is, I'm pretty comfortable once the tournament starts. And I'm very comfortable with TNT and TBS being places that I think in my head to go to for live sports now.
Well, TNT, basketball, hockey.
Right. Can NBC if they get the Big Ten, that means USA would be covering football.
Right.
And the question will be, how difficult, at least to me, how difficult will it be for NBC to establish USA as a top of mind sports network?
Right. Because
TNT, at least to me, David, is a top of mind sports network. Oh, like you go to the ESPN channels. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's on TNT. I know where that is. I don't have to look. USA, I would have to go look again.
Mm-hmm. And clearly everyone's trying to purchase live sports programming because it's the only thing that rates right now. And it's the only thing that's getting people to buy subscriptions for their streaming services. So, Big Ten's going to make out. Their TV deal could be $750 million to $1 billion a year. Honest, per year. That their TV contract came up at the right time.
And the SEC is getting nothing but bigger. The Big Ten's getting nothing but bigger. That leaves every other power conference, David, looking for a partner. And as we go back to the ACC, they have a partner for what? The next however many years?
Like 13?
13 years?
Right. And they're not happy about it. And meanwhile, ESPN's looking at them going, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's a locked-in contract. You really wanted that ACC network, and we gave it to you. And now we don't have to give you much of anything else. Speaking of the ACC, did you see the news that came out late Friday? Gene Deckerhoff has called his last Florida State regular season game. He's calling the spring game.
And that's going to be it?
And that will be the last thing he does for Florida State, and he will do the 2022 season for the Bucks.
Wow.
And then he will retire.
I knew he was retired. I was surprised he didn't finish, give the Noles one more year. Because as much as we tie college basketball to the coach, for generations, David, college football was largely tied with who the play-by-play voice of the team was.
Right. He's been doing it since the late 70s.
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Carter was president.
Holy Toledo.
When Gene Deckerhoff came, I believe Bobby's third year was when Gene Deckerhoff started doing Florida State games. And he did most of the basketball. I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe someone in Lake City or a big Noles fan in Tampa St. Pete could let me know, whether or not he does the majority of the baseball games or not. I don't think he does. All right. But, my understanding is his last Florida State broadcast of any kind. I know he did the majority of the basketball games this year. He didn't make it to the game at Syracuse. Tommy Block, I think, filled in for him. But he's going to do the spring game, and that's it. And then he's doing the Bucks this year. Fire the Cannons for one more year.
Well, if Tom came back, it's only fitting that Gene gives it one more year.
I agree.
They're so close in age.
Wow. Nice shot.
Probably sit together on the bus to the games and things like that. They've got a lot in common.
Both legendary, though.
Talk baseball to one another.
Both legendary.
Yes.
You could ask this of a Bucks fan. You could only retire one jersey
/ microphone.
Right. Do you retire Deckerhoff's or Brady's?
We've already got a poll question up. That's a damn good question right there.
Tell you what, people love Tom Brady. My money's on Gene.
Mine would be as well.
Miller and Moulton. Dave Wannstedt coming up on the other side to talk about, well, not Brady and Deckerhoff, but everything else that's going on in the NFL. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I would love to see NBC get the NBA back. I want to see Bob Costas do more NBA games. however many years he has left.
Hold on. Upcostas doesn't work for NBC. Upcostas left NBC 5 years ago.
Where is he now?
MLB
MLB?
Network and HBO. And that's it.
Ah.
Now, he is supposedly trying to work something out with NBC where he does something small again for them to be able to say goodbye on NBC.
Right. Because he had a legendary run with NBC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it didn't end that great. He basically said, I want out. First, he said, I'm tired of the Olympics and tired of the NFL and really only want to do baseball. So they brought Tirico in. And
That's right. I remember that.
then they lost baseball in all ways, shapes, and forms. And so there was nothing for him to do.
I will say, ESPN losing Tirico on NBA kind of hurt, but he ended up getting a better job.
See, I like Mike Breen.
I like Breen better.
on the NBA than Tirico.
No, I love Breen, but Tirico was the B team.
Oh, okay.
He was the head of the B team.
I agree with that.
It was
Tirico's a really good play-by-play guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
great
good at
play
everything
by-
he touches.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he's great. Like I'm not.
I get what you're saying though.
He's not great, but you're never going to turn him off. You're never going to put a Tirico game on and go, Jesus, who's doing this game?
Right.
Like Tirico did a hockey game, and I text Moulton. I'm going, Tirico's doing hockey, and he's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And he'd never done hockey before. That ain't easy.
But again, he's a B guy for a reason because we got Mike Breen, who is S tier. He's the
And
man.
Adam, NBC Peacock does not have Masters
Yeah,
coverage.
they have nothing to do with the Masters.
Well, the last 2 days of the Masters is on CBS.
Correct.
Has been for
Jim-
60 years.
Jim Nance, man.
In their one-year contracts.
By the way, Jim Nance doing these Canes games makes me very happy. Love that.
Jim Nance homering for Duke makes me really happy too.
Yeah, I mean, Nance is just going wherever Duke is. Nance is going to be wherever Coach K's last game is.
Yeah, he'll
Nance
be
is gonna
he's
there.
that's the only reason you got that.
That's the only reason.
I mean, he's
Now that he'll be going to Spokane.
Yes, he will.
he's Turner's number one.
No, that's where where are they what is
I
that?
don't know.
They're out west. Where is West this year?
At least we don't have to hear Tony Romo give his BS
Spokane was the women.
uh,
That was my mistake.
input. One thing I love about Mike Breen is anytime the Knicks are on national television, he'll purposely not do ESPN and he'll stick with the SNY network. Or yes.
San Francisco. That's where it is. Ooh,
Him and Clyde.
God. Raph's going to be tearing up some bars in Frisco.
Let's make a phone call.
Yes, he is. No, Nance. Tirico's a better play-by-play guy. Tirico's voice is not great.
Yes.
It's only pretty good, but as a calling the game, whatever the sport is, Tirico's fantastic. But like if Tirico had
had a big voice.
even a Brad Nessler voice,
But if he had either a Miller or a Moulton, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
If he had a Miller or a Moulton voice, he'd be a superstar. David, is Kevin Harlan locked in with CBS and Turner?
he could do Amazon probably, but yeah, he signed a long-term deal with both last year
Dave is on hold.
and Westwood One.
Westwood Juan.
CBS, Turner, and Westwood One.
10 seconds.
Yes, Paramount is CBS's streaming.
What do you mean?
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Our poll question is very simple. If your team acquired Deshaun Watson, how would you feel about it? Yeah, got me a franchise quarterback. No, man, he's a bad dude. Those are our choices. It's what, 2-1? Yeah, franchise quarterback?
Yep.
Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, many different places you could go to vote. Dave Wannstedt is kind enough to join us right now. You can find him in a lot of places. When he's in Chicago, it's NBC Sports Chicago, Big Ten Network. We think of him right now as NFL on Fox. You can follow him on Twitter at Coach Wannstedt. Dave, it's David and Mark. How are you?
I'm always good to be on with you guys and talk a little NFL, whatever you want to talk about, really. Spring baseball. You know,
we'll stick to football. We'll stick to football, but we can go in a lot of different directions, Coach. Coach, Deshaun Watson acquired by the Browns. Can you you've been a part of big trades before. When something like this happens, can you just kind of work through your big trades, how they evolved from you and talking to another GM, having to go to the ownership? Just when you're doing something this big, this isn't as simple as a GM being able to make this decision. This goes well past that, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Now, the biggest trade that I was obviously involved with was the one in Dallas when we traded Herschel Walker for, 3 number 1s, 3 number 2s. Very similar to this. I think we got a few more players out of the Herschel trade than what they did. But the real thing here, when we were in Dallas, Jimmy Johnson did the whole thing. I mean, he was in control. It was our second year there. So Jerry, from an ownership standpoint, he was just concerned about selling tickets and focused on that end of it. But in Cleveland, it is definitely different. I mean, this is driven by the owners. I mean, I think that you can look back at the history of the Browns and some of the things that the Haslams have done since they've taken over ownership at Cleveland. And obviously the coach's got to be excited about them. The general manager's got to be excited about them. But a deal like this doesn't happen in Cleveland unless the owner is on board 100%. So that's how I, talking to people, that's how I see the Cleveland situation.
Did the deal surprise you from a financial standpoint? I mean, you figured it was going to take 3 number 1s, but they made them, outside of Aaron Rodgers, the richest guy in the league, most guaranteed money in the league. And they went a step further in saying, listen, if they suspend you this year, we're going to make it so that you lose about $20 in the grand scheme of things. We'll give you this year a signing bonus and you'll play for $1 million salary. So don't worry about any kind of suspension. Is any part of this deal surprise you?
The money, I mean, good for him, but the total amount of money did surprise me. His last year, and I know they had a lot going on down there in Houston, but his last year, he wasn't the MVP of the league. Let's face it. I mean, he's very talented. He's got to be, I think, in the right system to really excel. That amount of money did, the talk was 3 number 1, so I think they knew they would get the draft picks. But the amount of money that they stepped up, I mean, they really, really bent over backwards, to obviously putting everything on the future, betting on this kid. And I don't know. That's the biggest thing that did surprise me. Absolutely, it did.
Brady comes back.
You're gonna have another player mentioned probably making more money than Tom Brady. So think about that.
Well, right, and Brady comes back. You've got a Matt. You got a Matt Ryan issue right now in Atlanta. They extended that. I'm sure Matt Ryan's there for another year. But this is a whole nother world, Coach. I mean, we're having quarterbacks moved regularly. This is a different league than you were coaching in, obviously. Just with the number of quarterback movements, how much does that change the urgency of a general manager from what we had before?
Yeah, well, the general managers in the past and the quarterbacks, they didn't really move. I mean, coaches would get fired and GMs would be there through 2-3 coaches, and that was just the way that it was. I mean, Troy Aikman, I was with Troy. Troy didn't come into his own until his 3rd year. Nobody was saying get rid of Troy Aikman.
Terry Bradshaw didn't become really the great player that he became in Pittsburgh till his fifth year. And, nowadays it's, everything, it's the microwave mentality. I mean, they want it fast. They want success. And if it's not, these owners, these general managers, everybody's wanting to change real quick. So the mentality of the National Football League has changed over the years. And, I was looking last night, I was sitting with a couple guys and we were talking about my guy, Kenny Pickett at Pitt. And I started going through the draft and, there's the way the quarterbacks are moving to make your, to talk about your point. I mean, the quarterbacks are moving and Garoppolo is still going to be out there. He's going to go somewhere. Baker Mayfield's going to end up somewhere. I don't know where these rookie quarterbacks, it's going to be real interesting where they fall in the draft and how many of them really go high in the draft. I don't see it. And I think most of these teams are trying to get the quick fix right now.
Dave, if you were running the show in Cleveland, would you have pulled the trigger on this deal? Because clearly Cleveland had to outbid the others to get Deshaun. So, and it was not just picks, it was financially, Deshaun kept saying no until Cleveland gave him everything he wanted. Would you,
right,
the division you're in with Lamar and Burrow, all right, the conference that you're now in, which just seems to be completely loading up. If you were in Cleveland, on and off the field, we all know everything that's involved. Would you have pulled the trigger on this deal?
I'm obviously, got that conservative mentality because of my experiences with different teams in the NFL. I would have probably been hesitant to do it, to be quite honest with you, because the offense that they run, I mean, it's a quarterback-friendly offense. I mean, they are going to win in Cleveland because they got a great offensive line. They're committed to running the ball. They run it as much or more than anybody in the NFL, and they play defense. I mean, that's the foundation. That's the DNA of the Cleveland Browns. Now, would Deshaun Watson upgrade them? Absolutely. So, it's going to be, the biggest question that I got, are they going to, because to me, Deshaun Watson is most dangerous when he's running the football. So maybe that's their plan. Maybe in the back of their minds that they want to evolve a little bit more into a quarterback run offense from the standpoint, not like Baltimore. That's not where I'm going to that extreme. But maybe the quarterback run is a bigger part of what they're thinking down the road. That would be the only reason that I would see making this deal. I mean, because if they're going to change philosophies and start throwing it 50 times a game, I don't see Deshaun Watson being your guy.
You mentioned that's the DNA of the Browns. You do a lot of work with the Bears. What's the DNA of the Bears, Coach?
Oh, I love what the Bears did from a head coach and GM standpoint. I'll tell you why. And they hired a few guys that I know very well. A couple of these guys that they hired on offense were on my staff at Pitt. Defensive guy, he understands the importance of the run game, right? He understands how the run game helps your defense. They hired a couple guys on offense that understand the running game and want to run the football. And Luke Getsy, the new offensive coordinator, and the running back coach they brought in, and the quarterback coach who they hired from Minnesota, where they run the football with Dalvin Cook. So I think that this is going to be the best thing for the Bears, and I think it's going to be, at the end of the day, the best thing for Justin Fields, their young quarterback. I mean, I think they're going to come out and they're going to be a balanced team, and they're going to run the ball, and they're going to play defense, and it's going to help his maturity, and it's going to help the Bears. I'm kind of excited about what's going on there.
Well, Dave, I thought the Bears, for what it's worth, were in a bad spot because the offense needed work. The defense was better, but the defense was aging. It seems to me, if nothing else, that the GM is going to get both sides of the ball on the same page by the end of his first year, where they'll both be roughly the same age. Both will have either bottomed out or now beginning to move up together. I thought the team was too unbalanced, and that, he's talking about we're going to get our linemen smaller, faster, because this is going to be our new run scheme. It seems to me as if there is a true rhyme and a reason now with the Bears, and they seemed a little disjointed to me the past couple of years.
Well, I think you're 100% on point, and I didn't get into that, but I said that last year. I said Akeem Hicks, Danny Trevathan, Khalil Mack. It's the word out of sync with the offense and defense is a great way to put it, because if the offense, let's assume that they take a step forward the next year or two, and now all these guys are going to be a year older, their contracts are going to be up. That's another positive, I think, for what's going on in Chicago right now, that they are going to be a young football team for the next year or two. But then, hey, make it or break it, they're going to all be mature and around the same time. So that's a good point that you brought up, and I think it's a real valid point, and it makes sense, 100% sense to me. I mean, it really does.
Now, I know, Mitchell Trubisky is what they got in Pittsburgh, but if you're a Pittsburgh right now and teams like that, Dave, how tough is this? This AFC, so quarterback driven, they keep getting more and more. If you're a have-not in the AFC at the quarterback position, it's got to be tough heading into the season.
Yeah, it is. Yes, absolutely. And Pittsburgh's got to make a commitment to run the football. I know from the owner on down, Mike Tomlin, they're all talking, Canada, the offensive coordinator, everybody talks about running the football, but they're not really doing it. They ran it the last 4 or 5 games of the season, but really, if you look at their numbers all year, I remember talking about it on my Fox show out here in LA. It was like at least 26 or 27, and they were one of the least rushing teams in the National Football League. And they got, I think they got a star at running back. They got that Akeem Harris guy, or Najee Harris guy from, I think that's his name, from Alabama.
Yep.
He's a player. And so they need to make a commit to the running game. And I'm a Mitch Trubisky fan. I was one of the few guys in Chicago that thought that they were not using him correctly. I didn't think that they used him to his strengths, which is a good run game, play action pass, get him moving. He's a better athlete. So I think he's going to have some success here. I truly do. If they commit to the running game, the play action pass, that'll fall right in line with what this kid can do well.
Coach, final question. Packers, are they still the head of the class in the NFC in terms of being the 1 seed, where they are in the division, their roster getting the most wins? Or do you think that with everything that's gone on, that Green Bay has kind of come back to the pack in terms of being the 1 seed?
No, they're still the 1 seed. And I'll tell you why. Yes, we got Aaron Rodgers. That's everyone, it should be talked about. But if you look at their defense, I mean, they got the best defense in that conference. I mean, statistically, last year they improved, I thought, in defenses as the year went on, and they had their 2 Pro Bowl players were hurt most of the year. So I think the Packers, because of their defense, they're at the top of the pack in the NFC North.
Dave, thanks for making time for us. I really appreciate it. Safe travels, whether you're up north or in Southwest Florida, and hopefully we can talk again after the draft.
Okay, anytime, guys.
Dave Wannstedt, NFL on Fox, Big Ten Network, NBC Sports Chicago. Coach Wannstedt is how you follow him on Twitter. Dave Wannstedt joining us here on Miller and Moulton.
High-end restaurants with a good live band at the bar in Southwest Florida, you might find them there too in the winter months.
Nice to know. Nice to know. What I always like is that every time we talk to him, he will say something along the lines of, like, last night or the night before. So I was out with a couple of guys. Okay. And we were just sitting around, and you could tell, I was out getting a steak, maybe a cigar, maybe a drink or two.
He was at one of those places that we're referring to.
And then just, we were sitting around, and it just so happened that the Chiefs' offensive efficiency came up, something like that. But you could see it actually coming up because he talks football a lot.
I did have a weird one yesterday, though, at the post birthday party. I had one of the moms because, I was kind of talking to the guys, and I went over to get a drink, and I filled the ladies' glasses up with wine, and one of the ladies looked at me and she goes, "So what do you think about Devontae Adams to the Raiders?"
Well,
wow. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Wait, a mom asked you that?
You're damn right she did.
Wow.
We had a good 25-minute heated NFL discussion about many different things. It was absolutely fantastic. In fact, we planned a trip to Vegas the first time the Steelers make their way out to Vegas.
NFL, NASCAR, 40% of the fan base is women.
Really?
And those that are in are all
Right?
in.
Jersey wearing, absolutely.
Your wife is a Penguins fan, no?
Penguins and Steelers.
There you go.
Speaking of jerseys, did you see Barkley and Kenny Smith over the weekend basically trash every American male wearing someone else's jersey? Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
St. Pete's, Miss Queen. I mean, it's St. Pete's.
That Barkley thing with the jerseys is hilarious.
Well, you should find it. We should talk about it. You should find it so we can play it, producer. Okay.
Producer.
That your job's not to run over here and tell us what we should talk about. You say, "Hey, I got that audio. If you guys want to use it, just training again."
That will be the next step in the show.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you got to start finding audio.
We need to find audio, and I don't know if it requires us buying a service or whatever.
Mostly it's on Twitter. It's really, I mean, it's pretty readily available on Twitter.
No, I can grab it. I remember I did it with the Curry thing.
Gotcha. Hops, I disagree.
All right, hang on. I got to get to something. Go ahead, David. I got to get to something.
Hops, not only do I think you can trade that many picks for a top quarterback, I don't think you can compete anymore if you don't have one. So what's the point of acquiring all the other players?
All right, I want to get to a more relevant thing here that Hop said this right here, this question that I put up on Twitch. You'll see it in 1 second, David. You said you had no money. I don't think it was for soap. It'd be no money for. It was the hose that was too far away, but no money. But you had money to bribe the snowplow guy. You just went through your whole.
Right.
We don't have any money,
Right.
but you're bribing this. I had to get back to that. Thank you
Right.
for that comment.
Right. We didn't have a lot of money, so we wouldn't pay. We were not in the habit of paying for car washes. You know, you get your car wash. For those that do, you do it what, monthly at least.
David, you're asking the wrong guy.
Okay. So no, we did not have the money for that. Okay. But, you know, the big snowstorm would come once, maybe twice a year. You know, we wouldn't have the snow. I mean, who cares if it's 3-4 inches of snow? I mean, when the snowplow guy's coming through, it's when you get the foot. And so we would make sure that we didn't get plowed in because we were near the end and it kind of rounded off corner and it was real easy to get plowed in.
Specific apartment spots too.
Yeah,
like
we were right on the edge.
Yeah,
you didn't have a sign, but basically people parked in front of where they lived.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would bribe them. Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. Booze worked better than cash because they were cold and they were working 16 hours straight. And
drinking and driving in a snowplow. I mean, come on.
Right.
Who are you going to hit?
How much damage are you going to do? And if you hit a car, so what? Probably shouldn't have parked there.
Drinking and driving, okay, I can't speak because I wasn't alive. It seemed like such a common occurrence in the 80s and 70s.
In
90s,
60s and 50s.
Right,
50s.
yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah, it was until probably the mid-90s. We got serious about drinking and driving in the mid-90s.
And those old cars, like metal boxes, not
well, you
safe
couldn't
at
hurt
all.
anything.
Yeah,
you couldn't hurt
just-
yourself or anybody else.
It was like driving in an armored tank.
I literally on the way to hockey practice and not drinking and driving, but we were down at we had practice 5 a.m. I never forget spinning out on a road, going into a 6-foot ditch with 3 of us in the car. Nobody had a seatbelt on. And grabbing our hockey stuff and walking to practice. Got out of the car, grabbed my gear out of the trunk.
No dents.
Everybody, dents all over the place. We left the car in the ditch and walked to practice. The kid, Jimmy Baird, Sonny, it was Sonny, the kid who's in our Twitch chat room. It was Sonny's car. Big, and he's not here today. I wish I knew. But a big 70s jalopy.
My God. All
We
right.
all drove big beaters.
We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, all coming up in 35 or so minutes from now. We've kicked around a lot of great topics. There's been, a whole lot that's gone on in the NFL since we were last on the air. You know, Deshaun Watson, Stafford getting $160 million, Dolphins entertaining Teron Armstead as we speak, whole bunch of Major League Baseball signings, the madness. They're only one off the record for number of overtime games in an entire tournament.
That's crazy because to me, it hasn't been as riveting of a tournament from closeness. There's been some overtime games. There's been a lot of one-sided games. Thursday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, late afternoon when Richmond took down
Iowa.
And then Thursday night was madness. But St. Peter's, second year in a row, third time in the last 9 NCAA tournaments because we missed a tournament 2 years ago. But you start with FGCU in 2013. Last year, Oral Roberts. This year, St. Peter's. We've had 3 15s in 9 tournaments make the Sweet 16 when a 15 had never done it before. I don't think it's a coincidence. There's a lot of good players, and there's a lot more ways to get their hands on it.
And the combination of these 2 years, even more so. You know, we talked about it a lot in football, David, but we are in the COVID years still where there are 6-year seniors out on the court for some of these teams.
Yeah.
Some of these 15s and 14s and 13s have had players there for as long as Art Schlichter was at Ohio State, which seemed like 14, 15 years as well. Sorry, that's
true.
an old reference, but if you're of a certain age, you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
You do have college football and basketball careers right now that are longer than a first-round draft pick's rookie contract in the NFL.
Correct.
With their fifth-year option being picked up.
Right. So throw that in at some of these small schools. Then you got the transfer portal, of which these schools can grab a guy or two. And David, you're totally right. More ways to get more players. And the players are that much more intelligent about it, too. When players are transferring, they know where they're going. They're going whether it's a grad transfer or just the regular portal, they're going for a shot at making a run. And they're able to stack some teams, and it changes the dynamic of thing. Even at the same time, we've got 3 1s left.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it could be very chalky outside of the one region where we think it's
we got 3. Purdue's the lowest or highest seed, however you want to look at it.
UCLA's a 4, North Carolina's an 8, and then you got St. Peter's. We'll say this. I mean, St. Peter's, I believe it's in Philadelphia, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, not that St. Peter's has a huge fan base, but Purdue's going to play a road game. I mean, because whatever fans St. Peter's had, they will be there for the Sweet 16 game. Never mind the fact that everyone in the arena not rooting for Purdue is going to be rooting for St. Peter's. So Purdue's playing a road game in the Sweet 16. Make no mistake about it. I mean, the Gators played a road game in Dallas against FGCU.
Right.
And the Gators got fortunate in that fact that Michigan upset Kansas in the first game because there were 25,000 Jayhawks fans there, and they were too depressed to make any noise. But if Kansas had held on to beat Michigan,
they were staying for the first half.
Yes, and
that's the thing about it. Well, and by the way, St. Peter's and Purdue's the first game.
Yeah, TV's dictating that. Which, by the way, shows what a phenomenon FGCU was, because FGCU was the late game after Kansas and Michigan. That's how big a phenomenon FGCU making it was that they put the Florida FGCU game as the late game on a Friday, not the early game, get it out of the way because we got the 2 blue bloods playing late.
Yeah, the difference is these 2 blue bloods playing after St. Peter's are North Carolina and UCLA, David.
Correct.
But come on, North Carolina now looks as North Carolina fan. And I lived in the Triangle for a while. This morning in North Carolina, just like around Michigan, these are teams that were more highly thought of at the beginning of the year than they are now going into the tournament. North Carolina wakes up this morning and their fan base thinks they're going to a Final Four. I'm just telling you that. That's the mentality of the Tar Heel fan base. So I say that because, David, they will be in Philadelphia in full force. And they'll be rooting for St. Peter's. From the word go.
Yes, they will.
And they probably won't be there at 7.
No.
But if the second half's a game
on,
you are going to see a crowd like you haven't seen for one of these.
Well, when FGCU beat Georgetown, it was in Philadelphia, and they were the early Friday night game. And in the first half, it was ho-hum, not a lot of noise. And the play wasn't that scintillating. FGC led by 2. I think the score was 24-22. By the second half, the arena was filled because, and I forget who the late game was, but the arena was filled. And when the underdog starts winning, okay, all right. So just a little dynamic. There's a chance, by the way. Duke and Carolina have never played in the NCAA tournament. They're 2 wins away from it happening. Now, Duke has to get through theirs, and Carolina has to get through theirs. Carolina they've already taken out the top seed, and the 2 seed's gone as well. And a lot of people think if they can beat UCLA, then they'll beat the winner of Purdue St. Peter's. Duke, you could argue, with the tougher road to the Final Four from here. It's Texas Tech and then probably the Zags. But wouldn't that be something in the Final Four?
But the Canes, on the other hand, get Iowa State in the late game.
Right. They're in the Sweet 16 and they get an 11.
I mean, they're a 1.5 favorite. It's one of the games there's actually already a line out on, and they'd get the winner of Providence, Kansas. But the Canes also wake up this morning thinking, we're an Elite Eight team right now.
Sure. That's what they're thinking. And they're thinking they'll probably get Kansas. I will say the Providence that showed up in the NCAA tournament was the Providence that ran roughshod through the Big East regular season.
Yeah, everybody not named Nova.
Right. And they get to play the whole underdog, no respect card going up against Kansas also, which really fits their coach, his personality, and their team's personality. And if you're Providence and you watched any of the Kansas Creighton film, you're thinking to yourself, we got a real shot here. I mean, 1-point game, 2 minutes to go. Creighton walking the ball up against Kansas. Creighton down 2 starters because of injury. Down 1 with the ball against Kansas. That was a really entertaining game.
Text number, if you want to join the show, text the keyword FSN Radio. FSN Radio. You text that to 21,000. FSN Radio to 21,000. Or you can join us, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton.
Apparently a controversy has arisen during the show today. And it has to do with the fact that, once again, I don't pay to get the car wash. And I learned that from my mother because my mother didn't pay to get the car wash. Okay. But the one thing that we did pay for that involved the car was growing up in the Northeast when it snowed. We lived in an apartment complex, and where it is we parked, and there was a little kind of rounded area by us. And we oftentimes could get plowed in snow-wise. And so we would bribe the snowplow guy.
Seems like a reasonable bribe to me. Like that, we lived in apartments till I was 3. I remember nothing of apartment life.
Right.
But that seems like a really reasonable request to me.
Now, the go-to was booze. And my mom just texted me also because we were talking during the commercial break, and she watches via Twitch. And so she was hearing the conversation we were having with others.
Does she follow?
Yeah.
Okay, as long as she follows. I don't need the subscription out of your mom, but I definitely need a follow.
I actually think my mom's both. I actually believe my mom's all in. I know, spending money and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, or then again, maybe somebody in the house has an Amazon Prime account. I don't know. Maybe they've already paid for it, but you catch my drift.
Just had a snowplower text me. Cash, I did it.
Okay.
He took cash.
Yeah. Now, my mom would start with booze. And hey, I will say this. No one else was bribing the snowplow guy. Trust me, we're watching. We're wondering if we had competition. Nobody was bribing the snowplow guy. And we would start with booze. If it was a new guy, the very first time we bribed him, we went cash and booze. A 20. All right. And here you go. And my mom always went with the wine. Okay. The 1 year, huge storm.
Boone's or Mad Dog? Because I know Mom, just fill me in. I'll find out next break. Boone's or Mad Dog? That's all I want to know.
It was cheap. I mean,
that's why I'm thinking it was Boone's.
No, I'm thinking
maybe Thunderbird.
Ernest and Julio Gallo is my guess.
Fine winemakers.
Right. And so
slightly better than Bartle and James.
All I know is true story. It was like a 2-day storm, and the snowplow guy was working nonstop. We went through the bribery wine, and my mother, unbeknownst to the snowplow guy, was giving him cooking wine near the end, and he was pounding it down. And at that point, we didn't care if he took out, my mom's cars were 10 years old, had a value of about $53. So my mom didn't care if he scraped the car, or hell, he could have plowed the thing up on the lawn for all we cared. But as long as, we're not plowed in.
As long as we get back out.
Exactly. As long as we can drive through the woods and get out. So there you have it. So I'll get an update as to what wine and what have you. But my mom did say the go-to was booze.
Well, and now the person who's texting me, I think, was probably 17 when he was doing the plowing. So cash was a little bit easier.
Right.
For him.
No, we would have gotten the 17-year-old hammered too, but it was usually a middle-aged guy who had a family to support.
I did have the car wash because I washed my own car as when I was younger. I don't now.
Okay.
But I had a buddy who did it who would just, instead of drying it, would just drive around the neighborhood fast twice and call that dried.
I can tell you that I heard my mom many times growing up when other people talked about it, her father would say to her often, you should get your car washed. And I can remember my mother looking her dad right in the eye and going, Dad, God washes cars.
That's something.
So that's where I get it from.
And you have that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My wife made me get the car washed the other day. I was like, why? It's like, it's disgusting.
But that just meant the outside. It doesn't mean you were doing a vacuum or anything.
Well, once you're paying for the outside, you might as well pay for the inside.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, hold on. I got to adjust. Adam, you are so right. So I don't know when it was. It was sometime in 2021, but that little shark fin thing at the top protects your satellite radio and all that. Somehow it got knocked off in a car wash, and I've been unable to replace it. And so now when it rains, I have no radio.
Damn.
Oh, it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass.
Especially since we're coming up here in a couple of months on rainy season, which means if I'm driving after 3 o'clock, I have no radio.
You want to know something, though? It does not rain on this coast nearly as much as it does in the East Coast.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, KM. I'm with you. Very collegiate.
All right. For the record, my mom says, by the way, follow and subscribe. I'm all in, she says.
Nice.
I'm going to post in the description for that hour. Snow plowing stories with Mark and David.
Sure.
Man. Again, can't relate. Did you guys have you guys ever driven a snowplow?
No.
I'm sure that's fun.
I've driven a big tractor.
Yes.
My uncle had like a farm tractor that I've driven. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
I've driven a backhoe front
Yeah,
loader.
you drove some big
Yes.
equipment
Okay.
because your
When
dad
I-
drove it, right?
When I was a teen and shouldn't have been driving it. But
Yeah, I was 13, 14
Yeah.
driving the farm tractor.
Drove a Big Mac truck, that you would see. Yeah.
Like now, I was never allowed on highway roads like that awful tragedy. But and it's no joke, I was driving my grandfather's Blazer, Chevy Blazer. It's probably 10 or 11
Jesus.
that he let me drive, and he cut out a piece of foam that was this thick that fit in the seat, so I had something to sit on so I could see over the top of the steering wheel. And he would let me drive home from the bar.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not joking. That's a fact.
At 11?
11. He died when I was 13, so 11, no more than 12.
When I first drove, I don't think I was 10. My father used to sit me on his lap, and he would handle the pedals. But he would, and I mean,
Yeah,
no,
and
we
I
drove,
did,
though.
yeah.
No. I'm on the roads driving.
Yep.
Okay. He let me drive a truck right into my grandmother, his mother, and dad. They lived literally on a concrete plant. They were they built them a house and said, "You're our security. Okay. Don't let anybody in at night." And so I would drive around, stone, sand, the concrete things and what have you. And I would drive the Big Mac trucks around it. And my dad literally would just handle the gas and what have you. So if I screwed up and I drove a Mack truck right into a sand pit and he didn't stop it, flooded out the car, the whole deal, he laughed his ass off, thought it was hysterical. I was crying. I don't even know if I was a teenager.
That's incredible.
My grandmother came out yelling at my father, and he just thought it was the funniest thing. He said, "Look at what he did to this truck." And
Yes, he is, Sean. Yes, he is. If you saw the look on if you would have seen the look on his face for the last 2 minutes, it was even more so.
Ugly bag. That's literally the words I was about to say. What was your world? Now,
Simpler.
I get why you guys call this current generation soft, but come on, you guys were kind of dumb. Like the stuff that that's
dumb.
Not dumb, but just like reckless.
Reckless.
That's the word.
No.
But being reckless.
Cars were stronger too. I will say, different type of car. They weren't as expensive in life, if you know what I mean.
Right. But
do you know how light you have to hit a car nowadays
for it to be totaled?
Right. Whereas opposed to you almost had to be hit by like a NASCAR, at Talladega to mobile.
True story. When I was in 10th grade, the Catholic schools merged. My dad didn't want me to go there. I went to a public school for one semester. Terry Carpenter, Jim Matevia, and I can't think of the other kid's name, literally would play demolition derby in the parking lot on the way home from school. It would be no big deal to be in the car, and all of a sudden, bam!
What's wrong with you guys?
You should have been in the cars that we were driving. You could get hit and not feel it.
It didn't hurt.
Bumper cars.
We'd laugh. The number of dents these cars had them.
We got rear-ended on Christmas Day, okay? And I mean, bam, in the back of the car. The back bumper was like dented in about 8 inches.
I hate to cut this off, but we're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Poll question. If your team made the Deshaun Watson deal, what would your reaction be? Like, yeah, we got a franchise quarterback. Or would you be like, man, he's a bad dude. I don't like this. Those are our options. FloridaSportsNetwork.com, on Twitter at FL Sports Network, at that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton. We have not asked each other this pointed question. If you had the final say, if you were Jim Haslam, would you have okayed this deal?
I would have. This is a top 5 quarterback when he's on.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. He's no worse than 6 is what I was thinking. If you want to go whatever order you want to do it in. Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen. If you want to put Brady and Russell Wilson ahead of him, that's 5. Okay, and I'm sorry, you can't put Justin Herbert ahead of him. Come on. Justin's been in the league 2 years, hasn't even taken the team to a playoffs yet. I mean, Deshaun Watson won 4 division titles. I mean, come on now. I mean, you may think that so-and-so is going to be better, et cetera.
That's fine, but if you're going to play that game, I'm going to say Brady's going to be retired, and we're going to move Rodgers off the list at some point.
Right.
I'm talking in the here and now.
Right. I mean, objectively, he's no worse than the 6th best quarterback in the league, and I would take him over Russ.
I would too, for what it's worth.
Because also there's a 7-year age difference. But And this is a really hard one for me.
Right. This is the hardest one for you. This is something that my guess is that you wouldn't.
No, believe it or not, I think I would.
Because of the position?
No, because of ultimately at the end of the day, there is a level of fair. I have a blanket statement. I would not want my team to get involved with someone who has harmed women and children. To me, the grand jury not indicting would have probably pushed me over to 51, 52%. I would have been absolutely positively no way are we getting involved with this guy if the grand jury indicts. But it goes back to Mark. I try in my quirkiness. I really do try to be fair as much as I can. He was not charged with a crime. So obviously he was not convicted of a crime. All right. And you are innocent until proven guilty. And so therefore, if you're not going to allow your team to pursue this player, okay, and don't get me wrong, I don't want him dating my daughter. I don't think he's the Prince Charming that he was made out to be coming out of Clemson in the first 5 years he was in the league. I don't think he's a good dude, okay? And I am going to cringe, I really am, the fact that he is now the face of my franchise. But we're in this to either win or we're wasting our time. Honestly, we win or we're wasting our time. And so my feeling is I got 4 or 5 more years to find his replacement, as opposed to if I don't do the deal and Baker Mayfield, obviously this was not going to work out, if for no other reason than he doesn't seem mature enough.
Well, David, that is such an excellent point, because to me, and I'm a Baker guy, I still want to see Baker Mayfield succeed. But when Baker Mayfield ran to Instagram and started typing out his farewell speech to Cleveland when they went to look to acquire another quarterback, that made me question his intelligence, his maturity.
Yeah.
And at that point, do I really want a quarterback that I don't know if is mature enough to handle regular diversity, let alone this possibility that we might trade for someone that everybody knows is better and you freak out? What's going to happen in the second half when we're down 2 scores? Right. You obviously mentally, to me, can't handle pressure. Therefore, I don't know if I can win with you going forward.
I mean, look at the difference between how Matt Ryan was handling this and how Baker Mayfield was handling this. Now, granted, Matt's been around longer. He's made a lot more money, and Matt knows big picture, everything's going to be okay, while Baker's at a crucial time in his career. They're not in identical situations. But the way Baker and his agent and the people around him handled it was laughable compared to how Matt Ryan was handling it. And I just think it exposed to me, if I'm playing the role of running the Browns, it exposed to me that, wow, he's not the answer either. Kind of thought he was.
And a lot of people are trying to go a little bit past the accusations at Deshaun and get into the whole he demanded a trade thing. And that is out there. Now, if Cleveland trades Amari Cooper in 2 years and trades a couple of running backs and tries to get rid of their whole team while keeping Deshaun Watson and he asks for a trade, well, then you may have that. But at least in acquiring him, they paid him. He's got a receiver and he's got a running game, things he didn't have in Houston. And anybody that would want to think that the Houston franchise has been run with any sense of what an NFL organization, how they're supposed to run their franchise, they have been a laughingstock. They've made Detroit look good in the last couple of years with the way that front office has run themselves. It's as disorganized as anything in sports right now, David.
Now, I got to be honest with you. I would not have done the financial part of the deal. And if that had cost me the deal, then it would have cost me the deal. That I wouldn't have done. No. You want me to guarantee 100% of this contract? And by the way, the $39 million a year deal on average that you have is not good enough? Okay, we're out. No, seriously. I would. Now, you could argue that that's foolish because you're making so much money and the whole deal, but I'm pretty sure I would not have done the financial part of the deal.
then you probably wouldn't have been able to get the deal. I mean,
Okay.
Don't you believe? No, and I'm just asking. Don't you believe that that part of that whole thing of, because he got to pick where he got traded to, that this thing was all worked out, that someone was giving him the deal wherever he was going?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Cleveland's deal obviously had to be better, significantly better for him to choose Cleveland over Atlanta or New Orleans. I mean, I think we all have come to that conclusion. But I might have been willing to guarantee the current deal that he was about to start working under, the 4 for 156 at 39 a year. I might have been willing to guarantee that. I also don't think I would have done what they did with this coming year, where his financial penalty will likely be less than $500,000. All right. I would have tried to convince him, by the way, that, listen, you want to take the financial hit. You really do. It will, from an image, you really do want to suffer some kind of penalty like this. I'm telling you, you will make it up and then some, and you'll make it up from us. But you want to take the $20 million financial hit. You do. Because people are going to want to think that you at least a pound of flesh was taken out of you. Trust me. You'll make the $20 million back. From me, you'll make it back. But I would have tried to convince him and his people, you want to take the hit.
Interesting. I totally understand the point that you're making. That would be a tough one for me as a player to swallow, because it certainly seemed that his agent had his complete interest, not just long-term, but 1 year in mind. And come on, you're telling me I'm going to make up the $20 million? I'd be like, how? That's a bird in the hand there, fella.
Adam in our Twitch chat room says, so does everything going on vindicate Odell?
Certainly seems to.
Yep.
Especially if they signed him in Cleveland today.
What I'm wondering is, does the Watson trade make Jarvis come back? I mean, how many people want to play with Deshaun Watson? You're a receiver? I think you want to play with Jarvis, don't you? Or Deshaun? Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts. It's all coming up next here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Here's another reason why I would the team going after Deshaun is because it'd be a hell of a statement to make to not go after a guy who was not charged, not convicted. I'm telling you, the grand jury thing changed everything.
You know, there's your fan base, and then there's also every other free agent in the league, too.
Right.
David, what was your first car?
I inherited my mom's 73. I think technically it was a Rambler.
And this is in 1980.
2/3. So it was a 9 going on 10-year-old car.
Weighed about 2,500 pounds.
And it was worn out.
This thing?
No.
Oh,
It was a little. No, I'm sorry.
yeah, just
No,
take that and make it.
my first car, 73 Maverick.
73 Maverick.
73 Maverick.
It's a pretty good car.
Then I got her Rambler after I wore that one out after a year.
Whoa. Yo, this is a badass car, dude.
The 73
Yeah,
Maverick.
the Maverick's a very
Yeah.
cool car.
It was yellow.
Very cool
It was
car.
yellow, though, with a white roof, and the roof was peeling off.
You got to remember, but take that car, put some Bondo on it, make it look a little worse. There's a few dents. It doesn't look that. Got to remember.
Yeah, it was a little more. It was a 4-door, though.
He probably spent $600
I'm sorry.
$600 on it.
It was a 2-door. It was a little. Yeah, it was more like that, I guess. 73 Maverick. Drove it for a year.
Pimp. What about you, Mark?
Mine was a crappy car. It was the T1000, which was there was a car called the Chevy Chevette. The T1000 was Pontiac's version of the Chevette. My parents both worked for General Motors, so we got new cars every 6 months.
Chevette as in. Oh.
Horrible.
So I
This
went
thing?
from.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. That's a funky looking car, though.
Yep.
By the
Stick
way-
shift, by the way.
By the way, the Maverick.
Nice.
The Maverick was. I don't know if you've heard me tell the story. The Maverick had the floorboard that you could put your foot through it, and so a stop sign was the floorboard. Okay.
That they
Little-
stole.
That we stole the stop sign.
That's cool.
Okay. And the stop sign was the floorboard of my mom's 73 Maverick. It was worn out that much.
I stole
That's sick.
more tripods, like the traffic tripod with the flashing light,
Right.
The yellow light. I had those.
Yep.
So when I had a party at my house, those would be up in rooms you couldn't go to.
Clever.
The barricades.
That's so funny
The
you
ba-
said that because we didn't know how to turn off the blinking light. So when we stole one and put it in my
Come on.
bedroom, I had an arm.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour.
The education that Felipe and his buddy are getting this morning
Tell you.
is something that they did not expect. It might have been worth getting up this morning, Chris, at 5 o'clock in the morning for this.
This is like growing up with an Uncle David, Uncle Mark here. The life lessons that we are giving you two. Feel free to take it with you.
They were freaking out over our first cars the last break.
They're funky as hell. I mean, you guys were swagging out. I can't lie.
70s cars in the 80s were very cool.
Because they were
In a horrible way.
indestructible. Right. They were just indestructible. I mean, there were some awful ones, the whole K-Car series,
Oh,
the Pintos.
and I had the worst one. I had bad early 80s cars. I had there was the Chevy Chevette. I had the Pontiac version, the T1000. I mean, nothing screamed economy crap quite like a T1000. And then I had some other Pontiac car that was just terrible.
I had a car that was so bad.
How bad was it?
Well, thank you, Monty. That I'm buying a new car. It's the first new car that I'm going to buy. And I take this just beast of an Oldsmobile that I'm driving. And the guy laughs, in which I asked him about a trade-in. And he laughs. He brought all the other, salesmen out and go, this guy wants money for this. And so we joked, and he put down $100. And his manager was like, no way, guys, God, take it out of my thing. Come on, kid. That was on a Friday. I was going to pick up the new car on a Monday. The car didn't make it to Monday. I mean, done. Side of the road, the whole deal. All right. So me and a buddy of mine, we pushed the car. And fortunately, the sales place was Scranton's very hilly. And where we lived was near the top of the hills. And the sales place was down near the bottom, closer to the river. And so we got it going and got it to the hills. And we pushed it there. And coasted up and pulled up to the front. And I said, hey, it doesn't run, but I got it here. And the guy said, I'll give you $50 for the effort.
Without any further ado, it is now time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
On this day in 1935, Persia was officially renamed Iran.
Always liked Persia better.
81 years ago today, Joe Louis, in his 15th title defense, knocked out Abe Simon. 13th round at the Olympia in Detroit. So on this day in 1948, Patty Berg won her fourth, what was then called LPGA Title Holders Championship. It became the LPGA Championship. So the fourth of her 15 majors, she beat Babe Zaharias by a stroke. It was on this day in 1953. Felipe, pay attention. You love the NBA? Boston and Syracuse played a game on this day 69 years ago. 106 fouls. 12 players fouled out.
How is that even possible?
Well, just
6 per team.
Well, but also let's break it down. 48 minutes to a game, 2 fouls a minute, 96. Throw in 10 more fouls. Basically, there was a foul every 25 seconds in that game.
And people want to complain about today's NBA. Okay.
I don't know the final score of that game, but I can imagine it was
6-4.
1959, Jerry West's turmoil in championships began. He was on West Virginia. He was named most outstanding player of the Final Four. His Mountaineers lost the national title game to Cal 71-70. And then he went to the NBA and lost all those title games and series to the Celtics.
Speaking of which, I got to resubscribe to HBO today to watch Winning Time.
It's getting good reviews, isn't it?
It's really good.
61 years ago today, Browns fans, Art Modell bought your team for a then record price of just under $4 million.
It is crazy to me when we go through the value of franchises and how all over the board they are from like the 20s until the 70s.
Well, there's an interesting stat, speaking of Cleveland, that the now Guardians payroll in 1994, when the strike began, the Indians payroll at that time was over $70 million. Here we are nearly 30 years later, and the Guardians' payroll is half of what that payroll was nearly 30 years ago. Meanwhile, the value of the franchise, Mark, has gone from the 150 million to over $1 billion. Where were we? 1963, Alcatraz was officially closed.
You ever done the tour?
No. I haven't spent a lot of time in San Francisco.
I know that, and now with your travel, if
Right.
ever the opportunity presents itself,
I would love it.
one, you have to, for anybody out there, you have to make reservations. If you're going to San Francisco, make your reservations for Alcatraz stat. And two, it is one of all of the tours I've done some museums. It is as cool of a tour as you will go on.
It was on this day in 1964, John Wooden wins his first championship. They completed an undefeated season. They beat Duke 93-83 in the title game. On this day in 65, Martin Luther King begins the march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. 3 years later in 68, the new Kansas City franchise in the American League chooses their name, the Royals.
I wish they'd give us what it won out over.
It's probably better than the Guardians.
Gotta be.
All right. UCLA won their fourth title in a row on this date in 1970. They beat Artis Gilmore and the Dolphins from Jacksonville University 80-69 in the title game. On the same day, Mark, the first ever Comic-Con in San Diego got underway.
And
That's all I got.
oh, I could have left it for omissions, but if you don't mind, Vico Boganaccia
Oh God.
is the German crashes during the ski jumping. It's the agony of defeat guy. Happened today in 1970.
Wow.
The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. For most of us, we saw that on Saturdays for the majority of our lives. Jim McKay, given those words. It was the agony of defeat guy.
Nice. They when they did like the 20th anniversary of Wide World of Sports or whatever it was, a primetime special, they brought him
on.
Yep. It was on this day in 1978 that the San Diego Padres fired their manager, Alvin Dark. I want you to think about it for a moment. It's March 21st. They fired their manager during spring training. It's only the second time in the history of baseball it ever happened. Mark, on this day in 1980, I'll give you something that's even bigger than the agony of defeat. The season finale of Dallas. And somebody shot J.R.
You have no idea, unless you're old enough, just how big that was.
Cliffhanger all through the offseason into the fall. 1994, Gretzky tied Gordie Howe from a goal-scoring standpoint when he scored his 801st goal. 25 years ago today, the breakthrough role for one Jennifer Lopez as the movie Selena was released. And it was 3 years ago that Ichiro retired. With 111 more hits combined than Pete Rose. Now, obviously, that's adding up Japan and Major League Baseball, but still, it is remarkable. He had over 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball, considering how old he was when he came over.
Marlins legend.
Marlins legend. John D. Rockefeller, Eddie Money, and Ayrton Senna, all born on this day and no longer with us. Adrian Peterson is 37. Ronaldinho is 42.
Ronaldinho, yeah.
Ronaldinho. Sean McDermott, head coach of the Bills, is 48. Matthew Broderick, Mark, is 60.
One of your faves.
I hate him. He killed two people in a car accident, didn't serve 4 seconds of penalty. Gary Oldman is 64. Timothy Dalton, one of the James Bonds, is 76. And Tom Flores is 85. And that is Today Was the Day. What'd I miss?
No, I the agony of defeat guy. I
Okay.
put that right in the middle of it because I thought it fit because there was 2 other big things that happened on that day.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I've got Wilbur Brown at the Moose Lodge in Springfield, Oregon. Sounds like a great story off the bat, doesn't it?
When's the last time you were at a Moose Lodge? It's 30 years ago for me.
I don't know I think I've been to the Moose. I think the Moose in Bonita I was at in the last 5 years, believe it or not. But Wilbur Brown was at the Moose on Christmas Eve, which sounds like a hell of a good time, when a friend bought a 26 for 25 megabucks ticket. His friend explained that allows you into 26 consecutive drawings for 25 bucks. So Brown bought a ticket too. Had him in drawings until February 19th. He said after a few weeks, he forgot all about it. First few drawings, I checked my ticket, then I forgot about it. He was back at the Moose when he said, let's see how this thing's going. And he gave it to the server, and the server scanned his ticket, and the message said, large lottery winner. They went to the old interweb. Turned out that he had hit for $8.9 million.
Whoa! That officially qualifies as large lottery winner.
He's going to take it slightly more than $200,000 a year for 30 years. Good for you. For the bad, we go to Lee County and the Cape Coral Bridge, where Andrea Wilson flipped her Jeep on the bridge, then refused to submit to a breath test. You can see some great photos of her getting arrested and taking the test on the side of the road where she was clipped with a DUI. And, well, the Jeep and she now in a little bit more trouble. Finally, the ugly, we go to Bonita Springs, where a 24-year-old man was arrested for breaking into his neighbor's home 2 days in a row. Apparently, the first day wasn't enough to get him arrested. So he came back to the same house the day after, and the same dude was breaking in. Esteban Leon is now arrested for breaking and entering. He was trying to steal beer from an elderly neighbor. You're an idiot. And you're also the winner of today's Good, Bad, and Ugly on today, March the 21st, 2022.
There's no men's NCAA tournament action today. There's no, I believe, NIT action either. So you've got like the CBI and what used to be the CIT. It's now called the basketball tournament. But FGCU playing at Coastal Carolina tonight in what is called the basketball tournament.
4 NHL games tonight. The best rivalry in the sport will take place in Montreal. The Bruins and the Habs are at it. Vegas is in Minnesota, Nashville at Anaheim, and probably the best game of the night is Edmonton at Colorado.
And concerning hockey, 3:00 today is the NHL trading deadline, so a little more than 5 hours away. I say there's one biggie, and I'm talking about like it wouldn't shock me if
Fleury.
And to me, Fleury has to be dealt, but it wouldn't shock me if maybe there's even a Patrick Kane trade, that somebody goes all in here.
Heat at the Sixers. We had a very awake Felipe today. I don't know how much we'll have tomorrow. He'll spend a lot of energy on a regular season game that doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot.
Means a lot to me.
There you have it.
Sixers lost at home to Toronto yesterday, so the Heat will actually be the more rested team. One other thing I do want to point out, women's tournament, they're wrapping up the second round tonight. In Nashville, Belmont, which shocked Oregon in double overtime in the first round, faces Tennessee. So a little in-state thing. It's in Nashville. There'll be far more Tennessee fans, but Belmont's from Nashville.
Right, and UCF has Connecticut.
They do. UConn got their act together late in the regular season. Paige Buchers came back. They're as deep as they've been all year. They're a 16.5-point favorite. This is a good UCF team. It's probably the best one they've had in a generation. I still don't know if they cover it, though.
Well, like you said, after UConn lost a couple of games, they seem to find it because it's one of the only teams they'll put highlights on, and they've been winning and winning handily here now for about a month.
And Indiana better be worried on the women's side, taking on Princeton. That's all I'm going to say. Princeton took out Kentucky over the weekend.
If you missed any of the show, you can go to floridasportsnetwork.com, millerandmoulton.com, where you can pick up any piece of the show. If you've not yet subscribed to the podcast, do so. Spotify, Apple Music, all the places where you can pick up any part of the show that you missed.
Pat Kerwin will be on the show tomorrow. That's if there's anything going on in the National Football League to talk about.
Numbers have stayed the same. If your team acquired Deshaun Watson, would you still be rooting for them? Yes, it's my team, getting about 2/3 of the vote. No, he's a bad dude, getting about 1/3. You can go to FL Sports Network, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, to vote on today's poll question.
And pay attention later today. Will the Dolphins have news? They've been wooing Teron Armstead, big tackle from the Saints. They've got the money and the need. So if you're a Dolph fan, you're looking to hear some news later today.
Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Miller and Moulton. Where else? Right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer,